Hello and welcome to Empowered Empaths and Sensitive Souls. I'm Katherine, and today I wanted to talk about the importance of true rest especially for empaths, intuitive empaths, sensitive souls. And what is true rest? I wanted to talk a bit about my experience at a retreat recently when I really realized the importance of true rest and started to explore ways to incorporate that into my life. So as intuitive empaths and sensitive people, we're really often taking in a lot more sensory information. And through all of our senses and our psychic senses, we feel, and we're all different in that, but, we've often, our senses are so refined. And so we, and they're different for each of us where the heightened sensitivity is. I'm very clairsentient, so I feel everything in my body, and it's quite intense sometimes. It can create a lot of stress and tension in my body, a little bit or a lot, just dealing with that amount of sensory information and being very aware of it all, because I feel I've opened up my gifts and sensitivity a lot. So I experience my gifts and, in a positive way, my intuitive gifts through my work and for supporting my life, guiding me, working with my gifts for myself and others. So I definitely experienced the positive side of that. And the other side of that still is that sensitivity means that and the awareness of everything at quite a high level means that I feel a lot of things in my body, and that helps me when I'm working with clients, because I feel where there's accumulations of energies in the body that ought not to be there and things like that. But it's also fairly, it's intense and it's a lot. Everyone's gifts work differently, but that's part of what it is for me. So, we may be feeling other people's emotions, or be sensitive to light or sound, all of this, just it can be really overwhelming and overloading at times. So the importance of true rest. And yet for many of us, and the way modern society is structured, and the value systems are not on rest and being, they're on doing. So many of us have huge to-do lists, and we're busy and busy all the time. It gets worse. I really think it gets worse in terms of people's busyness. And, what does that do to the nervous system of a sensitive person? I think it looks like burnout, quite honestly. It looks like exhaustion and being drained. So many sensitive, intuitive people are going around feeling drained, depleted and exhausted, and just, they might give that a name, but quite a bit of that could be due to the sensitivity. Of course, and that sensitivity maybe include chemical sensitivities, things like that. But the nervous system and rest can really help the body to be in that state of balance and harmony where it can better handle things. So if the nervous system is in a state of, overdrive, how can you're more likely to get other issues due to the stress. So you're functioning on you know, it's like driving a car at full throttle. It's not going to, it's more likely to have problems. And any machine, if you just drive it at too high a rate. So that's what we're doing to ourselves as sensitive people if we're not resting enough. But we're really in overdrive all the time, especially due to the sensitivity. You know, I think many people are doing that anyway, sensitive or not sensitive. So this is potentially relevant for everyone that feels drawn to, you know, consider this topic. And, you know, sensitivity is really, it's a scale. You know, some of us might feel we're like way up here and others might feel they're, you know, less sensitive. So it's, you know, and at different times we may be more sensitive than others. So when we rest, we're going to, you know, definitely it has benefits to our health and well-being, our happiness. I mean, and we begin to know what it's like from a relaxed state, a harmonious state. We're going to experience more of the positives of the sensitivity and the intuitive empaths. How can we experience that when we're just on stress and overload and overwhelm? Probably not a lot of experiencing the benefits and the positives. And I think this is the reason, one of the reasons many intuitive empaths are not actually doing the work they're here to do, you know, not, you know, and can have health concerns. And it's a factor. To me, it's a factor. The stress of being so sensitive and not having the true rest that then makes it more difficult to contribute to the world through our gifts, as I believe we're here to do. So, and I'm very passionate about assisting people to contribute to the world through their gifts, to develop and awaken their gifts. So one of the reasons people are not is due to this overload of the nervous system and overwhelm, which over time, obviously stress is going to, that's well known and researched, the effects of stress. The list is long. For sensitive people, the cost is probably, you know, higher. I don't know what the studies are on that, but it just makes sense that if you're sensitive and you're affected by, feel and sense everything more deeply, the stress could, you know, it's more easy to go into stress and chronic stress and experience the some of the effects of that. So we want to interrupt that, and I do anyway, and talk about rest, talk about true rest. So what do I mean by true rest? I don't mean reading a book, writing, watching TV, watching YouTube, being on Facebook. These are activities. They can be, you know, relaxing to some degree, but we're not really in true rest doing those things. We're still doing, still stimulation and input, right? So in true rest, we are coming into a state of homeostasis where our nervous system comes into equilibrium. And especially that many sensitive people may have also experienced trauma. So that's going to add to that picture as well, being in that state of adrenaline, you know, fight and flight due to unresolved stress, a low level of that continuing. So, wow. So speaking about true rest, so what do I mean? What are some of the ways that we could truly rest? I'd like to just share about how I came to be thinking about this. Because quite honestly, for the last 8 months, or likely quite a lot longer as well, my level of stress has been bit up there. And it's only in the last month or so that that I'm living in a place that is really just peaceful and quiet, and I can begin to really relax and to make choices, different choices so life is more restful and harmonious and balanced, and I don't keep creating the stress. So out of that space, realized I was so tired and that I needed to rest. And, I had been for the last couple of weeks, not really working, I had been, reading more, watching YouTube, going for walks, but it's all doing. I went, but I knew I needed to rest. Even this has been, a level of rest. I went to a women's retreat. I was actually gifted this, and for which I'm very grateful. It was a full-day women's retreat. I haven't been to something like that before, and definitely something to include in my self-care. I had such a great day. It was a beautiful group of women, and the facilitator was amazing, and very supportive environment for rest. And after lunch, the facilitator said, now I just want you to make yourself comfortable. You're just going to rest, really rest, not do anything. And I was like, can I write? And she said, no, I'd rather you didn't. It would be better if you didn't write. I mean, she didn't say I couldn't do that. But that she said, I really want you to rest. Just rest. And I was like, It took a moment because I don't usually do that in the day, just rest. And in a group situation, I was like, okay. So there was lots of cushions and yoga mats. I made myself a comfortable place to rest, and there was beautiful nature outside. I find nature very restful. I suppose I'm not really used to resting in a group situation. Yeah. So it was interesting. And so I lay down on the cushions, and the facilitator guided us through a guided meditation. And I felt my nervous system. There was still stuff going on in my mind and da-da-da-da-da. But my nervous system, something happened during that time of just resting. And I felt my body relax. I was just focusing on my breath and breathing a little bit deeper and relaxing my body, just noticing any stressful, any tense parts, and just really just giving myself that time to just lie there. And this was, I don't know, it might have been about an hour in total or a bit less for this rest time. Something happened during that time that I really just felt a recalibration happened. I think particularly we did some movement before that. So moving and then dance movement and then resting. I just felt the most relaxed I'd felt for a long time. And I really realized, wow, I do need to rest. And when I woke up the next day, I felt different. I felt more rested, and I wanted to continue with the resting and with the dance and movement and the great things we'd done there. I realized that I had been so tired for so long, just pushing myself. And so I began to do mindfulness meditation. I do always meditate, but it's not the same as the mindfulness in terms of really resting my nervous system. So I began doing the mindfulness meditation for about 10 minutes in the morning. I'm now doing that 15 minutes. And then later in the day, often before I go to bed or in the afternoon, I'll do another 15 minutes or 10, 15 minutes or so. I can really feel the difference. It's a huge shift. So that true rest might be. So I just wanted to talk about my experience, put it in some context. So, sitting might be just, lying down, having a rest, listening to a yoga nidra tape, or sitting outside under a tree and just watching the light on the leaves or the lying on the grass, watching the sky and the birds. Some ways that you might find true rest. So, yeah, I just wanted to share about that. I think this is a really important topic for intuitive empaths and sensitive people especially. And just to finish up, I'll just speak to that. Often we feel guilty when we're not doing. This is why we don't do it too. There's such a stigma almost with being productive, being busy, doing. And it's, as a society, people, you might have grown up with that or experienced at some point. People around you may not understand. There may be some criticism or judgment. So, let as often this short phrase comes to mind that I remember from John DiMartini: let the voice on the inside be louder than all the voices on the outside. So yeah, just do what's practice, just doing what's right for you. Let other people have their opinion. But if you're exhausted because you're doing what other people expect, how does that work for you? Your nervous system will still be on overload and won't be feeling good, drained, depleted. It really interferes with the quality of life and the enjoyment of life, and the really experiencing all the positives of our gifts, being able to really just feel things, that sensitivity of really listening to a bird, stopping and listening to a bird song, and how really beautiful that is. Feeling the wind on the skin, listening to a poem, and really just feeling that and being touched by that. Okay, so thank you so much for joining me, and I look forward to sharing and connecting with you. So if you have any comments, you're welcome to put them below, and I love to hear from you. Thank you.